Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today's video is of course all about Hedera Hashgraph HBAR. If you've been following on for a while, you will know the Hedera Hashgraph is one of our most covered coins. We tweet out when we're buying, we tweet out when we're selling, so I want to discuss our most recent tweets when we've been buying, discuss those buys in a little bit more depth as to why I was buying at those levels, and then we can take a look at the monthly time frame, get a really good overview of what is going on here, what have we seen in these most recent months. Then we can drop it down to have a little look at the Elliott wave structures on the lower time frame, of course using the Fibonacci analysis as usual, then move into our June, July and August expectations, discuss what we've seen over the past couple of months and what we can be expecting in the remaining of July and August. So guys, if you like the video, give it a like. Of course, any subscriptions and comments are appreciated. Let's get straight into it. So as I posted earlier in June, we was buying HBAR and we said our last major buy was in 2022 where we went on to sell 30% of our holdings for a nice 150% move. You can see here the buys down at about 3.5 cents and the sell up at 9. People were saying back then, maybe that's a bit of a bad decision, but I was saying, 150% is never too early to take at least your initial investment out, manage that risk. Buy low and sell high with no emotion, leave the rest to ride. So it proved to be a nice decision because I was able to then use those profits in June as we saw the big candles to the downside, then big monthly candles coming and get filled. Really looking to then use that profit to add to that position with the big buys at around 4.5 cents. So, but unfortunately with the Binance regulations at the minute we are able to use Binance, but this would have been a nice journey to continue on with the green arrows and the red arrows, but we've had to use Coinbase, so yeah, not optimal, but we'll go with the flow. Let's jump back into the charts and we'll have a little look at the HBAR chart on the monthly time frame. So one key aspect of this monthly time frame at the minute for HBAR is just taking a look back in August 2020, August, July, September, October. You can see we had this really nice accumulation range for HBAR before we went on to that major run to the upside with big, them big 1000% moves. And you can see the candle body's closes here, the major candle body close up at the high here, aligning with this wick to the downside on Binance. And you can see this monthly candle that we've had for HBAR right now has come right below this level, and we even went on to take this little wick to the downside here, which is a great sign. So that monthly time frame, that monthly cluster of demand down here really coming into play again, and coming in to fill a big portion of this big bullish candle here, breaker to the upside. What we want to see right now for HBAR is if we are wanting to see a bit of continuation to the upside, although this candle looks good at the minute, next month I would expect, we're probably going to possibly come back down and fill some of this candle to the downside, come back down to around the 4.5 cent region, just like up at the highs, when we get these big wicks to the upside. Show you what I mean here. These big wicks here, we don't just then reverse to the downside. Look at what happens next month. We come in and fill some of these wicks, at least 30 or 40% of that wick to the upside. So a trick I like to use is when we get that candle body closed, just pull the Fibonacci's and have a little zoom in, and you can see the levels here. Try and look for the 50% at least, and that is aligning again with that liquidity wick to the downside that we got in May 2022 on Binance. So I think next month probably going to look to come in, fill some of this wick at around the 50% mark at least. Lucky if you get the 618, possible 702 again. There would again be the positions I would be looking for them spot bids, but you can't argue with the fact that this monthly time frame candle for HBAR is looking really good at the minute. So just dropping it down now to the lower time frame to try and get a good grasp of what we're maybe seeing here on the Elliott wave structures. And from the upside targets and from the videos that we've been making for the past couple of months, we've been outlining that as an impulse to the upside as a 5-wave move. And we were saying that this wave to the upside here was looking very much like a 3-wave correction, and we'd be looking for at least the 786 on the trend-based Fibonacci to the downside. So if we just pull that trend-based Fibonacci now to the downside, you can see we actually even wicked below that. But if we draw a line on the 786 here, look at where these daily candle closures are coming in on HBAR. It's a really great sign, and it's what we want to see. It's sort of like an inverse head and shoulder structure if you take into account that this wick is just sort of like a liquidity grab. The 786 here really holding its own, and the lows here at the HBAR are really being respected. So the possibility of that big 1-2 to the upside, 1, 2 count to the upside is coming into play now for HBAR, with them major moves possibly coming in the third wave, where the upside targets would be enormous, really. Let's have a little look at them. Now we've got the upside and the downside targets in correlation. We can now start to project where we can possibly see HBAR heading to the upside. It doesn't matter too much about getting this nailed on, because the Fibonacci are going to be manipulated as we go on the way up and as we do on the way down. But let's have a little look at the targets to the upside. Got the 1.618 and the 2.618 coming in at around the 13 cents region and the 19 cents region. Really, when we're looking at the higher time frame, monthly time frame cluster that we've been monitoring for quite a while now, it has been this zone that we've been monitoring here for HBAR to potentially come back to. That's why we was buying at the lows, and it's why we didn't sell everything as we got that major pump to the upside just a couple of months ago on here. We wanted to see, you know, there was a real possibility that we just went straight for it, but we got that retrace back down. Now looking for the at least a 3.618, and you know, if this is a major, because what we could actually have instead of this being an impulse is just an A, B, C to the upside. The 3.618 always gives some great targets for that C wave to the upside, so it might not be an impulse, but that don't matter too much, because we can still take profit on the way up from these major buys, sells and buys at the lows. So that's what the aim of the game is here for HBAR. Buy low, sell high, no emotion. But it's an easier thing to say than it is to do, especially when the greed and fear comes into play for the market participants. So let's have a little zoom back out now onto the monthly time frame. And this is where we can start to develop our plan for the remaining 3 months coming up for HBAR, because we've got a couple of different scenarios here that I can see playing out. Obviously here from the monthly time frame perspective, that's the major monthly supply zone that we're looking for HBAR to come back to. Whether we go now or we go a little bit later, doesn't matter too much. These are the major targets and these are the major sells that are going to be taking place in HBAR. But on the lower time frame, we just need to play a little bit of devil's advocate here, because let's have a little look at this trend line here. You can see we've had a nice retest, drop below, retest again. Is it possible that we break these lows again? And it absolutely is. We're not going to say it's not possible, because when we look at ABC corrections to the upside, which it could be, we often see them drop below these levels and then make the major move to the upside with a 3.618 retrace to the upside. So let's say we dropped a little bit deeper, we'd still be looking at for that 3.618 to the upside, 24 cents region. It would just mean that we come and take these liquidity levels below these higher time frame, longer term time frame demand zones. So what I would expect is, you know, if we're not going to go now, if we are going to drop down deeper, expect that 50% drawdown from the most recent buys. But don't panic, I will be looking to add a position at least 2.5 cents. That's the major zone I would be looking to add to the positions that we bought at 4.5 cents. And yet, it does take a little bit of psychological stability to be able to do that. But at the same time, that comes with a little bit of experience in the markets, knowing how these markets work and seeing how the markets have moved in the past. So I'm just want to outline that as a possibility, because we don't want to ignore that. But at the minute, that major impulse 1-2 to the upside is looking good, especially with this weekly candle or monthly candle closure coming up in 7 days. So again, looking for that monitoring of that big wick to the downside, look for that to come in and fill a little bit of that wick, and then looking for the major moves on the monthly time frame over the next 3 months, 4 months really, for HBAR to get rocking, catch up to BTC a little bit. If not, look for them zones, 2.5 cents, 2.3, 2.4 cents. So the potential scenario that we could get here is a move down as we have, and then a move back to these supply zones up and around 7.5 cents. So it might be that you want to have a potential sell 10-20% up and around these levels from the buys down here for a nice 60 or 70% move, then able to use those profits to buy lower if we do get that dip down, but then using the 80% of the remaining profits to sell at the targets that we mentioned earlier, 1.618, 2.618 and the 3.618, really looking to sell about 30 or 40% of our holdings there for a nice 300 or 400% move, and then looking for the higher time frame pullbacks of this as a potential 1-2 to the upside, looking to reclaim these levels. That's a little bit messy there, but you get the gist here. 1-2 to the upside, and then looking for their major third waves to the upside in the future years to come, possibly for HBAR. But lower time frame, monthly expectations, that's a potential scenario that we want to be watching out for. So It's not to say that these most recent buys are the most perfect buys that we're ever going to get, and they're absolutely perfect and we're celebrating now. Although it's good to see and the price is moving up from our buys, we need to keep into mind that these lows could be taken once again as Bitcoin continues to suck a little bit of liquidity out of the altcoin market. But HBAR is one of the coins right now that is showing extreme strength in the market, especially compared to some of the other altcoins. So it's a great sign, great buys. I know some people have been messaging on Twitter or replying on Twitter saying thank you for the buys, and it's absolutely no problem. It's just me tweeting out when I'm buying and when I'm selling. I will continue to do that as well with the percentages, so keep following me on Twitter. It's just CryptoRyan17, and I will be posting all of the updates on there. And of course, it's not financial advice from me, but a little update here on HBAR, what I'm expecting over the coming weeks of months, potential scenarios, higher time frame, lower time frame, Elliott wave stuff, and monthly higher time frame liquidity levels. So take it easy, guys. Again, not financial advice. If you like this style of video, give it a like. Any comments, subscriptions appreciated. Sit back, relax, and let the market do the work, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.